Hey guys, this is Jason Douglas.
Zada MacArthur, voice of Yuji Itadori.
This is Derek Snow, the voice of Shinra Kusakabe.
This is Phil Parsons, voice of Kenny the Ripper Ackerman.
It's Merc Nguyen. You're watching Voice of the Heroes. Take it away, Flea Boy.
What's good, everybody? You already know who it is and what it is. And if you don't, it's the one and only one, Flea Boy Jetson. And you're watching Voice of the Heroes. So if you're tuning in for the first time, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, click that notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming interviews or discussions with your favorite heroes or villains from around the world. And today we got a very special guest. He's definitely one of those ones, man, a true legend in the industry, a man who's provided his talent in so many of your favorite movies, shows, and games. Just to give you a couple of examples, I'm talking about just a couple. We got Naruto Shippuden, the movie Blood Prison, One Piece, Baki, Go Loser Rangers, Saints Row. Yeah, Saints Row, we throwing it back. Transformers, games, and movies. It shows, you name it. Kung Fu Panda, the man's in Kung Fu Panda, y'all. Tucker and Call of Duty franchise, The Spectacular Spider-Man, Mortal Kombat, G.I. Joe Renegade, Superman versus the Elite, which is one of my favorite animated DC movies of all time, Halo 4, The Last of Us, Regular Show, Steven Universe, The Legend of Korra, Family Guy. He's even in, if you know, you know, especially if you're involved in my community, he's in Naruto the Barto, Shinobi Strikers, and when it comes to Star Wars, speaking of Star Wars, may the 4th be with y'all. Yeah, I told y'all I was going to give y'all something special on this day. He's in almost anything you can name as far as Star Wars related. Star Wars Visions, Young Jedi Adventures, The Bad Batch, The Clone Wars. Yeah, The Clone Wars, Jedi Fallen Order, Rebels, Tales of the Jedi. He's also in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Batman, Batman the Killing Joke, Catwoman Haunted, Young Justice. Man, let's welcome Andrew Kishino. Is that how you pronounce it?
Kishino, you got it right first time. You
okay,
come on,
go,
man. You got it right first time.
Yeah, let's welcome Andrew Kishino to the show, man. Thank you for pulling up, man. How you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing good. I'm talking to you. It's all gravy. Come on, man. Thank you for having me on this show. What an introduction. Dang, you were running down some of that stuff, and that was stuff I forgot entirely. So yeah, you got it on and popping. Thank you for that.
I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. When I looked at your IMDb, I was like, yeah, we got one of the ones, man. I did not know you played in so many, and we're gonna get to it because you've been in so many of the biggest sandboxes in the industry, franchises like Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Transformers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and some of the biggest anime shows like Naruto and One Piece. Do you have a preference or a favorite set of characters you like to voice?
That's a great question. I think coming up in hip hop, like that was my first career, right? Is you have a certain mentality of the way you approach the world, right? I know you can BX, and so A like we be like, so we see it like, right? So yeah, so we like. There's a certain way that you look at things, way that you approach things, and what I've realized over the course of my career is what I tend to gravitate towards is people that mirror a lot of not only the ethos of hip hop, the spirit of the rebellion, of all of that stuff, but also straight up just people that I just know and that I've been fortunate enough to associate with. And then, had some fun where even some characters were even patterned on their voices. So I would take like their voices or their mannerisms and inject them into those characters specifically. And it was my own little private, like I wouldn't say inside joke, but it was a private inside homage to those people. So that was always a lot. Yeah, that's kind of something I try to bring
within the voice.
Right, like I did one of my. I don't know that was on the list, and again, I'm so humbled and grateful that you were even mentioning those things because I was like, gosh, I was like, who is he talking about? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. The Lion Guard. I got to play a character called Janja. And Janja is largely based on KRS-One.
Ooh, okay.
So a lot of KRS's very demonstrative way of speaking is injected into that character and how he's fearless in the way that he approaches things and he'll take on anybody, anywhere, anytime. and he will chew you up and spit you out. And I was like, I'm going to take subtle mannerisms of that and the mental framework of the way I know Chris is and inject that into that character. And that's kind of like, that's like sort of, not to give away the secret weapon, but that's the thing of like, you know, you grow up and you fortunate enough to have a whole career where you associate even with people like KRS-One, and you kind of like, wow, this is my thing. This is what I bring to the game.
That's amazing. And truth be told, that's my father's favorite artist. So that's really dope. That's definitely my father's favorite artist. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That's his favorite guy. So that's good to know, man. Also, you're currently right now in two of the biggest video game franchises out right now. You're in Assassin's Creed Shadows, and you voice the Master Weaver and Hawkeye in Marvel Rivals. How did those two come about? Did they just happen to come, you know, both at one time, or was you working on one and then down the line you end up getting the other gig?
Neither one influenced the other. It was kind of like you said, it was kind of concurrent. Like, because in the world of video, as I'm sure you're very well aware, they keep very tight lids on everything, right? So no one really knows who's working on what, and everything is code names this and code names that, right? So frequently you don't even know what it is. And it's a very amusing story about Star Wars I'm gonna get to about that. But there was a code name for Rivals, and when I went in, they were like, well, this is what it is. And I was like, oh, this sounds like a lot of fun. So when we shaped the character, it was like, okay, let's have fun shaping this guy into somebody who's a smartass, who's adventurous, who understands and recognizes that in the framework of superhero, quote unquote, powers, he's not someone who flips over cars or is going to toast you to a crisp with vision, but he has something that nobody else can. He's like the John Stockton of, like, you know, he'll shoot it from the outside and kill you with the 3-pointers type of thing, right? Like, that's his thing. And be like, I'm going to remain on the perimeter and just burn you the entire game with that kind of thing. So that was Rivals. And then Assassin's Creed was something that just came up. Same thing. They just sent me the thing, you know, had at it, and it was obviously an entirely separate game, an entirely separate world, but it was fun to dive into that. And that also allowed me to draw on a lot of the knowledge and the specific reference I have with Japanese culture. I'm half Japanese. So to draw on that and to say like, oh, okay, but still also to inject in that to go, okay, now I see who this person is. Like, I have a picture of him. Who is he? Like, what is his, how do I bring this guy to life? And I'm looking at, like, you know, again, to bring it back, I'm like, Big Pun, Fat Joe, Freddie Fox, like, you know, these big dudes who will be Just Ice, who will be like, I'm going to be the person you never, ever, ever want to meet. Because the minute you see me, if we lock eyes, it's too late to cross the street. Like, we're about to get into it. It's beef on sight. So developing the character like that was, while he obviously, it's within a certain period, the attitude and the framework that I brought to it was very much that, you know, that passion and that energy of that. So, and hopefully that translated.
I love that. When did you get the hint that you knew you was playing Hawkeye?
That, like, in the session. Because it was kind of like, yeah, it was kind of, everything was very secret. It was very, very secret. And again, with good reason, because they were treating the project with extraordinary care and extraordinary, and you could see from the game how much love and care and passion they put into it, so that it's not only an incredible amount of fun to play, but there's the dynamic between all the characters is very rich and textured. It's not just pick up a gun and start shooting. You feel like you're immersed in a world of people who have like huge beefs, but also petty, hilarious beefs, or they have hilarious exchanges, and everything is, you know, everything is very richly textured. So that, I just love that about the game.
What was your favorite exchange? Because Hawkeye does got some funny ones, and he got some attitude ones.
He got some funny ones, but the one I always fall back to is, and I kind of amend it for myself, is because I'll say it occasionally, right? Even if it's just daily, I'll just say it to myself, be like, I never miss. And then I always add after coffee. Because before coffee, it's coin toss.
Hey, I already know.
Man, you might not know what you get, but after coffee, your boy never misses. I never miss.
Hey, I like that, man. So, all right, you provided your talents in voicing some of the most iconic villains in fiction. I'm talking about Shredder, Storm Shadow, Shang Tsu. Like, out of all the villains you voice, who is the most complex or challenging one to voice?
Oh, see, this is a loaded question because
And I was surprised when I seen Shredder on there. I said, my guy is Shredder, Shang
Shredder,
Tsung, and Storm Shadow. That was kind of fire.
Here's the thing. It's funny because I like people like Storm Shadow. Shredder is a lot of fun because he's obviously Shredder. Storm Shadow, I like him because he's very complicated. A lot of his resentment towards Snake Eyes and a lot of his anger is built off of a failed understanding of what actually transpired. So he's got a lot of misdirected anger, and a lot of this high desire for conflict comes from his inability to reconcile what has happened deep in the past and being stepped over to be the next in line, to be the successor. And then being, the person who's like, it's certainly in Renegades, was the person who's like, I know the truth of what happened and I can't tell anybody. So it's kind of like nobody believes me, but I am the person who should have succeeded everything. I am the person who should have been there. So a lot of that is it's almost childlike in the way that he's resentful about those things. It's not like I want to kill everybody or I want to rule the world. There's something very complicated about it that I don't want to be oversimplify it and say like, man, some good therapy would just sort him out. But at the same time, he's like somebody who it's built on a really complicated mess of emotional things that underpin like who he is and makes him so exciting. But that's what makes him exciting. It's not that, yeah, he is a ninja. Yeah, he's got, the katana and he can like slice anybody to bits and he's got all these techniques and everything. But it's what pulls him to the point of wanting to be in that conflict that makes him fun to play. To that same point, because immediately, and I don't want to say it, but immediately what I thought of is Saw Gerrera, because depending on which side you're looking from, Saw Gerrera is a villain. And he's super complicated. He's incredibly complicated. He's not, he's not the guy who's just, we're trying to overthrow everything. There's so many layers to what it is that makes him who he is that even he doesn't know what he's going to do next, because it's highly driven on a lot of his history and a lot of his lack of impulse control. So that is, I hope that was a good answer. That was
a great answer. And I love the Storm Shadow aspect of it because he's one of my favorite characters in G.
I love him. Yeah,
I love him and Snake Eyes. Like their whole dynamic, even with the movie, even though the movie kind of, flopped or whatever the case may be and didn't do too well in the movie theaters, for me, it was a guilty pleasure because I love both of those characters. So to give them their own little spotlight in that movie, and we got a lot of them in Renegades too, like in G.I. Joe Renegades. Like we got to see a lot more of their story than the previous G.I. Joes. So I like the way that they flush the characters out. And Saw Gerrera, let's get right into it. Matter of fact, for all the Star Wars fans, here we go, man. May the 4 be with you. I hope y'all have a good time today. Don't do nothing crazy. Don't hit nobody with no lifesavers. Let's get into it, man. Star Wars Celebration popped off not too long ago. One of the biggest announcements was Maul getting his own Disney Plus series titled Shadow Lord. Any chance we might hear your voice in that? And if so, man, what's likely that you will want to be involved in the project?
Oh, I mean, listen, I'm grateful for anything I get involved in. I did see the announcement, and I'm super excited for the show. That it looks super. I mean, because anything they do is going to be ridiculous. It's going to have um incredible storytelling. It's going to be visually beautiful. So I can't wait. I can't wait. That's going to be dope. And the celebrate, there were a lot of people that did go to Celebration that I saw that had a fantastic time. I wish I could have gone, but I wasn't able to attend. But in 2027, it's going to be in LA where I'm at. So
Oh, you turning up.
that should be on and popping.
And they're gonna have a lot of stuff going on around that time because they're announcing all these movies. So they're gonna bring trailers, things like that. 2 years from now, we're gonna get a lot of Star Wars content. A lot. More might even be out by 2027. I'm pretty sure they probably gonna start writing the script and things for it now. Now, if you could add any character, right? Are you a huge Star Wars fan?
I'm huge is a big scale. I would say I love Star Wars. I'll put it that way. Yeah.
All right. If you could add any character from the Legends era and bring them into the canon era, who would it be and why?
Ooh. That's a really good question.
Because they done pulled part like Thrawn. They pulled Thrawn from the Legends era and brought him to canon. So any other characters you like to see playing the main sandbox?
To the point that we were just talking about, and this is kind of like the Snake Eyes, to kind of bring it full circle, the Snake Eyes Storm Shadow conflict. And this may be sort of kind of like a go-to one, but I still think this would be one of the best ones, personally, would be Darth Revan.
Bro, I swear, when you see the Mark Thompson interview, right? Because I asked him the same question. I think he said something like, I forgot what he said, but I said Darth Revan too, because that's my favorite, like, Star Wars, not canon type character. Go on, though. Continue. That's
okay.
Crazy.
So then we on the same track, because when you look at the conflict between him and Malik, right? Right, their dynamic is representative of something that if you take that, it's like it links the entire history moving forward of the conflict between two people so close and how they turn and change and can flip on each other. So one of the great things I love about Star Wars is, as much as it is about X-Wings and TIE fighters and Death Stars and lightsabers and everything, it's a story about people. It's about the connections and the betrayals and the relationships and the loss and the triumph and the euphoria and the overcoming. It's people. It's all people, right? So looking at Revan and Malik and how it's like, that's about them. It's about them and how they are pitted in this thing, and how Malik, they turn on each other, and then Malik flips like what 3 times, like Jedi, Sith, Jedi, like he goes like bing, 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 like this. So it's like the complexity of that story is, but again, it goes to Luke and Vader. It goes to, Ahsoka and Anakin. It goes to all of these dynamics where it's like, it's so complicated. And it's just like real life. It's like, not to sort of put it in oversimplified terms again, but it's like you can love somebody, but there's things that drive you absolutely nuts about them. Even with Saw Gerrera, with his relationship with Steela, and how he's clearly got all this fire, but Steela is clearly the calm person that is so suited to be the leader. She's absolutely like, she's plug and play. Like she could have stepped into the mantle and accepted that role, and it would have been nothing. She just wouldn't have missed a step. And then, arguably, what Saw does is partially, to what degree is hotly debatable, of her death. So then he's like, from that moment forward, he's like, every bit of externalized conflict and the way he approaches the rebellion, if you really think about it, is governed by his relationship to his unreconciled feelings about not being able to save his sister.
Mm.
So that complexity is what makes it so, like, what makes him such a compelling character. That's why I love him. That's why I love that. And that's why I would say Darth Rebel.
I love that, man, because that's one thing about Star Wars is their character development, even from the side characters. It's like one thing that you could say about Star Wars, every side character could literally take on their own title and it'd be huge. Especially Saw Gerrera could easily have his own story. He's done had a few, matter of fact. And Saw Gerrera is such a fan character and a fan favorite with all these different, like you said, challenges and layers. How did you prepare to bring that kind of intensity to the animation?
So here's the thing. So may I tell a story?
Yeah, go ahead, please. This is what we're
Okay.
here for. Lock in, chat.
All right, lock in. We locked in. We locked in. So when I got the copy for it, right? When I got the audition copy, that is, at the top of the page just said CW. So I'm thinking, and the copy is, there's nothing in there that says Star Wars. There's nothing that says Saw Gerrera. I think it might have been for like a football coach or something, right? But it's just CW. I'm like, oh, cool. This is something for the CW network. So I do it, and I'm like, yo, cool, whatever, right? And I do my thing, and I obviously put my elbow in it because I'm always try to I bring my A game to everything. And I get the call, and like, hey, you got the CW gig, and everyone's real excited. I'm like, you guys seem very excited for this, but I'm not sure what it was. You didn't tell me what it was. Like, man, it's CW. And I was like, great. So I show up at the studio and I walk in and I see my good friend D. Bradley Baker there. And I'm like, hey, what's up, D? And he's like, hey, how's it going? And I see Ashley Eckstein. And I'm like, hey, Ashley, what's up? And then right in that moment, I'm like, oh, the Clone Wars. So at that moment, and I'm not no word of a lie, at that moment, to use, let's use the BX phrase, dead ass, all I'm trying to do is just make it look like I just only figured that out. Because I don't want to be that dude, right? Like, I don't be like, of course I knew all along that we were here for the Clone Wars. Yeah, of course. Yeah, what? Come on, man. We good. And so so we head up to the room to record, and it's an ensemble record, which is always amazing because you get to feed off the energy of everybody, right? And we're in there. There's James Arnold Taylor, Matt Lanter, Ashley Eckstein, D. Bradley Baker, like everybody, right? Like,
that's fire.
And I'm already fortunate and grateful to be friends with a lot of them. But as we all know, whether any voice actor wants to admit it or not, there's always that first day of school thing, right? Like, you're always kind of nervous because you're the new kid in class. So to add pressure to that, Dave Filoni comes out and sits in front of everybody, and he does what apparently he did before all the episodes. And he says, okay, season blah, 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 episode blah, 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 here's what happens. And what he essentially does is he gives a synopsis of the show, so it gets us all in the mood. But what I was thinking was, oh, he's doing a verbal version of the crawl in the Star Wars movies. Like, this is monumental. Like, you're getting the crawl on the beginning of the movie from the man.
That's
so
producing
I'm kind of like,
it.
again, I'm kind of like, act natural, right? Like, just be cool. Now I'm going to be real serious with you for a second. In that moment also, what I realized was when I was coming up, I was like, we were struggling, like mad struggling, right? And my mom did everything she could to try and make sure that we were cool, right? And she was like doing all kinds of, crazy jobs, like, cleaning people's houses and like doing other people's laundry in their house, like anything she could, like knocking on doors, like, do you have anything? Because I I gotta feed my kids. And one day she came home from doing somebody's laundry and she had 3 very worn, very hard, like roughly used Star Wars figures. And I was like, she gave them to me and I was like, oh my God. And because at that time, I was, I'm an old ass man, right? So I'm like, but at that age, right? I'm looking at them going, this is a connection to something so immense, so fantastical, so magical. I can't even conceive it. But these little figures are a connection to something that I don't think I could ever be close to. But I was like, I played with them and I cherished them. And I was like, it was they were like so meaningful to me. They were absolutely, because they were representative of something that was possible. And in that moment, as he was telling me that, I thought back to the moment when my mom gave me those Star Wars figures. And I thought, how did I even get here? How did I even arrive here? And I'm not going to bullshit you. In that moment, I got like a little emotional, right? Like I didn't let it show, but I had to kind of fight it back because I was like, I wanted to go back in time to that 7-year-old kid and go, everything is going to be okay. Everything that you go through is going to lead you to something that you could never imagine, that you can't even conceive in this moment. So hold tight. And I was like, damn. And then I realized in that moment, I'd missed about 30% of what he'd said because I was in that moment. I was like, damn it, I got to like lock back in. Shit. Okay, we're here. Yes, I'm paying attention. So he finishes the crawl and then he comes right over to me and he says, so what are you thinking? And I'll be like, again, I'll bring him. And I'm like, East Coast comes out, right? So I'm like, I'm not going to lie to you. I think a lot of what informs him is hip hop. He's rebellious. He's ruthlessly defensive and protective of his hood and his family and his planet, Onderon. He won't ever back down. He thinks he can beat anybody. And he's got limitless fire in his chest. That dude's an MC. That's who he is. And he was like, I like it. Let's do it. And that was it. And that was how Saw Gerrera was born.
My God, I love that story. That is fine. Now, so Clone Wars is your first introduction into voice acting for Star Wars.
Yep.
So that was your first gig?
That my first gig overall?
No, just for Star Wars. I'm talking about
for Star Wars, yeah.
Universe.
For Star. Oh, and I should point out too. Quick aside: Steela Gerrera was played by the immensely talented Dawn Lynn Gardner, who went on to star in the incredible show Queen Sugar.
Matter of fact, that's crazy. I was just looking her up today and looking at her IMDb. You're right.
Yeah, I just wanted to just shout her out because she plays an incredibly important role. But I think this is a perfect occasion to big her up and to say Dawn Lynn Gardner and I were side by side, and we on all those episodes, and she played Steela Gerrera in like beautifully. So shout out to Dawn Lynn Gardner.
That's fire. So that was your first introduction into Star Wars. And then from there, you went on to do the Bad Batch, Young Jedi Adventures, the video games, all types of stuff. Is that Clone Wars? Is that your favorite one out of the bunch? Or did you have another one that you had a lot of fun on? Or was that one like the one for you? Because me personally, don't get me wrong, I love Clone Wars. Love Clone Wars. It's like I even did a video on my top 10 cartoons of all time on my TikTok, and it was definitely like top 5 or something like that in my list.
Damn.
But Rebels was different, at least for me, because there's certain parts that hit really hard in Rebels that I'm not gonna give too much away, but even made a grown man start tearing up like, hey man, y'all seen what's going on? But which one of those projects was it for you? Was it Clone Wars?
Man, that is a really good question. I think each of the projects provided and gave an ability to just step into a different part of that world that exposed a different part, not only, from Bad Batch, a different part of Saw Gerrera, but when I was Captain Hark in Star Wars Rebels, when I got to play, which is really crazy, both Forrest Whitaker and I both played Saw Gerrera in Jedi Fallen Order. I did the motion capture and ghosted in the lines, and he came in and did the lines on top of it. So we actually both played him.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that. So you did the motion capture for the character, and he came. Did you get a chance to meet him?
No, we still haven't met. We still haven't met after all this time. At some point, I just have this thing in my back of my head. I'm like, when it's going to happen, the universe is going to make it happen. But we haven't met yet. But that's like, I love that factoid to just like, I was able to do the dialogue and do all the motion capture. And then he came in and did the lines. But then I'm listening to it and I'm like, damn, there's parts in here where he sound a lot like me. Like we've been kind of impersonating each other on this role for a long time. But sorry, to answer your question specifically, I didn't mean to go
go
off
ahead,
on a tangent.
man. That's what we here for. I love it, man. And I know the chat loving it too.
Is each one of Young Jedi, whether it's Young Jedi Adventures, whether it's Star Wars Visions, whether it's as you said, Rebels or Clone Wars, all of them present an ability to step into a specific facet of that world and become a part of that world. Because even if it's the same character, it's the same character at a different time. So hopefully, we're always different people as we move through life. So it's the same lesson to take with everything, where I'm like, absolutely bringing different energy and different style and different flavor and different presence to everything. So picking a favorite is kind of like, I don't want to sort of duck out and give a whack answer. I won't give a whack answer, but I would say that I'm incredibly honored anytime I get the call. And I'm deeply humbled to be, again, to harken back to what I told you about when I was like that young, to go, how did I get to be a part of this? So it's like every single one of those things holds a very special memory for me.
I respect
so yeah.
I respect it. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I 100% think we're gonna see you on Maul. I know even if it just started, and I know even if you was gonna be in there, you under NDAs and all that. But I honestly feel in my heart, either we're gonna see Saw Gerrera or we're gonna see you voice another character in Maul. Because this sandbox, you've been playing all over it. And I'm like, when even little things like Visions, my God, Visions is so good. I feel like they could take one of those episodes and just make a whole what you call it. But I love Visions so much, and I hope they do more of that too, man.
Let me tell you, that first season where I got to play Margrave Juro was so dope. Because again, there's something about him where he's got an edge, where it's like he's not 100% altruistic in that sense, where he's whatever. There's something about him where he's complicated. He's that guy who's just, you're not like, it's clear from his actions, his intentions are good, and he can discern good from bad, but he definitely has a history. So to be able to step into that role was like, wow, like that was crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. You've been playing some crazy parts in this franchise, and kudos to you, man. I love it because it's like when I checked out your whole like catalog, I know Star Wars ain't, just it, but that part of your career
is significant.
Really impact, like it's a huge impact on everybody that's coming up watching Star Wars now, because they don't even know what voice they're hearing. And if they did know, they'd be like, damn, homies in Star Wars Visions, Rebels, Clone Wars, Young Jedi Adventures, and the list goes on, even dripping off into the video games. So I think that's really dope. Now, if you could voice any other character in the franchise or swap roles, who would it be?
Oh, I feel bad. Now I can't even say because I'm friends with all. Oh my God, you like giving me the worst question because I'm friends with everybody. Like Freddie Prinze Jr. I mean, shoot, Vanessa Marshall and I, who's Hera, we were married at one point, right?
What?
So yeah. So
You and
that's
Hera
why.
from Rebels?
Yeah,
Y'all was actually married, the voice
yeah,
actor? Huh?
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and we're great friends, so there's no animal. I have a world of respect for her, and she, in her own right, legendary, and I mean legendary. Catalog and list like you could just days that you could keep going for days and days. She's absolutely insane. Like friends with Nika Futterman, D. Bradley Baker, I mean, James Arnold Taylor, Matt Lanter, everybody, right? Like, so you can't, Sam Witwer and I were on Days Gone and we were doing motion capture on that game. And because we knew each other, there was a scene in there where I was the same thing where it's like we're such good friends where it's like it was something where he was trying to get information and trying to needle me because he knew I knew something, even though we were friends, but he started poking me in the chest. And we started like getting into it, but having fun. And they were like, bro, y'all gonna wreck the motion capture soon. You get into like you starting to go at it. And we're laughing and having fun. But it was like all of these people are my friends. And again, it sounds bananas to be able to say that, right? But again, I don't want to give like a cop-out answer because it's such a great question. But I'm such a fan like you of all of their performances. Like, I'll be real with you, right? I'm like real talk, right? When I'm in the sessions and I'd seen people do their voices, it's hard not to just go and your jaw just drop, right? Like to see Corey Burton and to have him do, what he does. And you're just like, I got to keep it cool because in a page and a half, I got to say something. I don't want to be like, yo, did you hear that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be that dude. I'll say this, and I don't mean to turn your question on its ear. I'll say this. I would hope and wish that in the future, I'm fortunate enough to be in the rooms with the people who do those things, not trade any roles, but I would just always hope that I'm fortunate enough to be in the rooms with my friends recording those things so that I can hear them do their thing. Okay. So that would be my answer.
All right. So look, I got a better answer for you, right?
All right.
Say Maul comes out, right? Or another project, any project, any
Project X, whatever. Project, whatever.
Project comes out. And you audition for a role or they call you for a role. Which one would you rather have? You get the choice out of a Jedi or a Sith? Which one would you go for? Now, I know you got the complex characters locked down. You already kind of figured those kind of roles out. So I'm assuming maybe Sith, or would you change it up and go Jedi?
Man, another good question. Sith if he's conflicted, Jedi if he has a bad history. I want to be that guy who's I'm not
edge.
Yeah, I'm not. It's one of the biggest challenges with everything is when you've got somebody who is real sort of paint by numbers, and that's kind of like they're bad. I get it that they do bad stuff. They kind of whatever, right? It's they kind of exist only as somebody who draws out characteristics of the protagonist, the more main person. And because that's kind of what they exist for. When they're more nuanced, like one of the incredible things you saw, obviously the Kenobi series, right?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, the lightsaber battle between Vader and Kenobi, where half the mask gets sliced off, and you see the pain coming out, right? The pain and the conflict, because there's the anger, but there's the betrayal. And there's still a shred of, why did you do this to me? Why did you leave me? And why did you forsake me? Mm. And you see in Kenobi, like, I tried, but I couldn't overpower what was drawing you in. That's the stuff I love, where it's not just, him against him, have at it. It's this messy, entangled world of what makes them, when you go back, it's like Padawan and Jedi, but also they were really good friends. And then you kind of go, damn, like how did that happen? How did it get to that point? And then you realize when they've got to raise it up and they've got to draw and they've got to go to battle, it's like, damn, this is a lot more complicated. This fight, there's more to this fight. There's more. That's what pulls you into the emotional nature of those fights, where it's not just like, oh yeah, they going at it. It's like, in the moment of fighting, there's deep regret and sadness and anger and resent and even the slightest shred of, if I could turn off my lightsaber and back away, I would do it, but I can't. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that makes Star Wars so compelling. That's the thing that makes those, as you said, that's what makes those finely detailed, supremely nuanced characters so compelling, and makes you go like, oh my God, I can't miss this. I can't take my eyes off of it. And that's what I love about it. That's what I would want. So it would be like Sith, if there's a possibility of flipping, Jedi if he's got like a history.
I love that, because you always want that edge no matter what character you play. And I low-key see what you did with most of your characters, bringing your music history into it, or the hip-hop element into the characters, giving them that rough edge it, sound. Bro, I love what you're doing, man. I love it. Now, I definitely want to talk about a couple of more things, right? Let's see. If you could add any character, how would you build a voice from scratch? And what would we basically touched on that, because that's basically, the elements that we talked about with hip hop. Looking back at your body of work, what do you hope people take away from your performances?
Hopefully, I could only really hope that that I stir something emotional in them. Anytime anyone says, one of the examples I get is, people will say, man, you were Kevin in Steven Universe. I hated that guy. Like, that's what they'll say, like, flat out, right? And you'd be like, thanks. it's kind of hard. Like, you are extremely grateful, but it's always such an odd thing to hear, like, right out the gate, where someone goes, man, I hate, because you're like, I'm doing my best not to take this personally. I'm really doing my best not to take this personally.
Hey, I'm not going to lie to you, right? Anytime, and I said this before, if an actor can make you hate their character, then they are acting. They are A1 at what they doing. If you feel any emotion,
I receive what you said. And I hold it. Thank you for that reminder, because yes, absolutely. Because Kevin gets that hatred, but it's always the thing of being like, yeah, then that was what you were meant to do. Even the thing like when, well, it's not a spoiler alert. I mean, it's whatever. But when Tech dies in the Bad Batch, people were like, oh man, I can't stand Saw Gerrera. And you're like, that's good, I guess. Like, I'm like, you might want to, next time I'm at the drive-thru, be like looking over my shoulder and make sure that, someone's coming and be like, yo, we got a problem, B. Like, I don't want to be that dude. Like, you know what I mean? But that's the, that ability to kind of be that, to bring that level of emotion to the character, where they leap out of something into the third dimension where they compel you to feel something visceral. You're not sort of like intellectually going, oh, that's a bad dude, or that's this character or that character. In your chest, you're like, ooh. And not always a bad thing. It shouldn't always be a bad thing. It could be somebody who you feel tremendous pity for, or that you're rooting for, that you want them to win because they're going against insurmountable odds. And so they deeply love the character because they see themselves in fighting a battle that may seem insurmountable. All of those things are incredibly they're incredibly gratifying, but they're also, again, I don't want to keep saying these words, but they're deeply humbling, because to have connected to somebody in that way, where it elicits that emotion, is a very personal thing. Borderline, it's a very sacred thing. It's a really important thing because it connects us to our humanity. Saw Gerrera does exhibit and represents to me the person where, if you had no impulse control to affect your agenda, what would you do? And that, you got to wrestle with that, because you think, shoot, someone cut you off in traffic. Are you going to follow them home? It's like, no, of course not. Like, they're going to cut somebody else off 30 seconds later, right? It's not you personally. So there's that. It's the governance of internal impulse control and going, he represents that impulse. And then what you learn from that is, but to be spiritually and mentally, cognitively more mature, you go, but there's a better way to get there. I acknowledge who he is, but there's a better way to affect those things. There's a more diplomatic way of communicating. There's a more finely, keenly honed edge with which I must approach interfacing with other people, with communicating and showing other people, who I am. It's like one thing that I always say about my job, after kind of doing it as long as I have, is I really only got one mandate for my job, and that is to make the people who love me proud of me. If I channel that, then I'm always approaching that with integrity. And that, when I carry that forward, it is that thing of like, I love Saw Gerrera as a character. I wouldn't want to be Saw Gerrera as a person, because I would have to give something up to become who he is. But when I play him, it's like I kind of temporarily take that part out and become that person. So that's kind of the key of where it resides for me, as far as how I want to play. Did that kind of, I know I kind of got a little, went off. Did I stay on tack? Okay.
Yeah, you definitely did, because, basically the question was, what do you want people to take away from your performances? And that's, separate the art from the artist. You know what I'm saying? That's what I got from that. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you hate this person, or just because I'm, this person at this time, doesn't mean I'm that person. That's what I got from it, at least.
That certainly is another aspect of it. That is definitely another aspect of it. Because I think, as I'm sure, if I can kind of read the subtext of what you're saying, is there are a lot of people who conflate, the character with the person voicing it. And that's a little bit on the elementary side. But it definitely is existing in a world where you're like, where, if people, to more directly answer your question, and thank you for sort of restating it so I can circle back, is that people look at me like, damn, that dude always puts his elbow in everything. Like, everything he does, I forget him, and what I hear only is the character. That's what I would hope. If it's more directly, thank you for letting me restate that.
No,
that's
but
what I would hope people get back.
Both answers was good, because I learned something from both of them. And like I stated, man, one of the reasons that I designed this platform or created this podcast was to give flowers, and I say it in every video, and I'm gonna keep saying it, is to give flowers to the voice actors that either made us laugh, cry, hate them. Because if you're that good at what you're doing, then we're supposed to feel those emotions. If you're a good villain, we're supposed to hate you. If you're a hero, we're supposed to root for you. If something tragic happens to one of our heroes, we're gonna shed tears if we was really invested in these characters. If you're the comic relief, we supposed to laugh. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when you know you're doing your job. And I dedicate this platform to giving flowers to voice actors like yourself and actors, comedians, musicians, artists, writers, producers, directors, anybody who's been a voice of our heroes. So that's basically what the platform is for. And like I said, man, thank you for everything that you've done, not only just for the Star Wars community, but every other community that you provided your talents to. It means a lot to the fans like myself. Like, you know, when we're younger, of course, we're not really thinking about the people behind the voices. We're not even staying for the end of the credits to see who's playing these voices. When we're trying to run outside after the show go over, you know, turn up or something. But as you get older, you start to become invested in the show to the point like, who wrote this? Who produced this? Who's the directors? Who's the cast behind this? Or you start becoming the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where you're like, oh, I know that voice. I know it. I know it. You know what I'm saying? You start to even recognize favorite, like my favorite voice actor is Johnny Young Bosch. And no matter what he's in, I can like kind of hear a piece of him in every character he's done. And the more now that I get familiar with more voice actors, I interview them, the more I start to watch more media, whether it be, you know, anime, cartoons, whatever it is, video games, I'm starting to recognize voices and things like that. So, you know, I just want to bring that, you know, not only to my community, but hope to expand and bring that to the masses someday. But definitely
I hear that.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of universal questions now.
All right.
And one of them is going to be, you could choose from anime, cartoons, movies, shows, books, whatever you want. Who are your top 5 fictional characters of all time? You can only pick 5.
Top 5 fictional characters. Saw Gerrera is one. I know, cop out answer.
Nah, it's good. If I was you, I'll pick all my characters.
Here's a good one because it goes within the same thing we were talking about, but different, slightly different universe. But because of their relationship and what they represent, Daredevil and the Punisher.
Ooh. I like that.
Daredevil and the Punisher.
Born Again? Tell me, man, that dialogue between them when they first... Epic, bro. I didn't think Disney Plus could do better than Netflix, but my God, the new one hit different.
I'm surprised Table didn't catch fire when they were sitting there having that conversation. I was like, the table's going to explode. Like, it's like the tension between them. But again, Vincent D'Onofrio, exactly to your point. It's like there's that crackling energy off of him. Like he doesn't even say anything and you're just like, oh, this is not going to go well. Like you get like how he inhabits a character. Masterful actor. Okay, so Daredevil and Punisher, Saw Gerrera of all time. Damn. Bless the Dead, T'Challa.
Oh, Chadwick Boseman.
Both Chadwick, and I would say a dual role there because I would say Chadwick Boseman and the Black Panther. Because obviously what we all found out of what he was going through when he filmed that role, it makes what he did all the more important. Yeah. It made everything that he did all the more impactful. And goddamn, that's technically 5, but I feel like that's really 3. I fill it out with.
No, we'll do. I'll accept the Punisher and Daredevil as 1, Black Panther as 2,
1. Oh, okay, so
Saw
that's 1.
Gerrera.
Saw Gerrera.
So you got one more.
And I say one more all-time fictional character. All-time fictional character. Damn. I'm trying to go. It's a broad swath. That's why I'm trying to say, like,
there's a lot of characters. I don't even think I can answer this, man.
Yeah, and I
could.
I'm trying to think of somebody more grounded in reality but still a fictional character. Somebody who that I absolutely that I'm like that I always go back to.
What's some of your
The
favorite
circle.
franchises?
But Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Wars, obviously. Um,
Did you get to see the Thunderbolts?
I haven't seen that yet, but
Man, you
or
gotta go.
wait, is that is out, right?
Yeah, I went to go see it. Matter of fact, here's a cup for it. I ended up.
What?
They got the limo for a popcorn bucket.
Damn.
The
Oh,
bread buddy.
wait. Thank you for saying that. Logan, the Wolverine.
I like the
Okay, that's
Logan's fire.
because again, and not because, and again, it feels like he's like he's an easy go-to, but to give like a slightly deeper take on it is while everybody loves his ability to heal, he's so conflicted about his enduring life because to him it represents I everyone I love I lose, but to everyone else they're like, dude, that is so cool, but to him it's like it's the greatest burden he has. So there's that whole again
And I
with
feel
that
he
where it's
doesn't
like
get a lot of love, man. I feel like lately, especially since, because I've been viewing a lot of content creators that dab into the comic book side of things and the superhero genre and things like that. And you hear so much people when they talk about the Mount Rushmore or just superheroes and their popularity, you hear so much about Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, Iron Man now because he's basically the face of the MCU. I felt like a lot of Wolverine got pushed to the back end of that list. But man, if we're talking about late 90s or early 90s, that he was that guy when it came to comic books, TV, going into the early 2000 movies and things like that. Man, he was a
he's a
very
dude.
pivotal character.
He was the dude. He was the dude. And I'm trying to think of one more. I almost want to put a pin in it and get the second question, and then I'll sort of put put it in the secondary processor, and then kind of we'll circle back to that. What's the next question? I'll think of the one more.
Now you good. Wolverine is the fifth one.
Okay, Wolverine's the fifth one. We good. All right.
Wolverine 5.
Shoot.
All
I
right.
didn't want to be like, yo, this dude can
Nah,
come
that's
up
a
with
good
5.
list.
I was like, okay, cool. All right.
And the more I ask that question, the more I ask myself, like, what would be mine? And I always get different answers every time I think about it. But now this one's going to be a little tricky, right? Because just from having a conversation with you today, I can tell you have so much admiration and respect for so many of your co-stars and peers. But there's only 4 spots on this list, man. It's the Mount Rushmore of
you about
voice
to get me in
acting.
trouble. You about to get me in trouble with this one.
God, the Mount Rushmore of voice actors. You could only pick 4 goats. Who is the greatest of all time? And it's your opinion. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gotta go with the most popular answers. It could be peers, it could be friends, it could be mentors, people that inspired you. You get 4 slots. Who is your top 4 voice actors?
This is kind of like when you go top 5 dead or alive on MCs. I feel like it should be split between like Golden Era and New Cats. Even though for me it would mostly be Golden Era dudes. I'm gonna go with the OGs. I'm gonna say Mel Blanc, Dawes Butler, June Foray, Frank Welker.
That's a nice little list. I ain't even gonna lie. That's a great list. That's all you get. That's all you get.
Wait, that's right. It's 4. That was 4. Sorry, you said 4. Now, do you want a separate list of people who I'm friends with?
Let's do that. Let's do current.
You got to give me 5 or 10 though, because otherwise, people gonna get bent. People gonna get bent.
All right, how about this?
I see these people. I see these people on the streets. I don't want to be like, yo, what's up? Like, I don't be like, come on, man. I don't want no smoke. What are you talking about?
We're kind of a small podcast. They might not see it, man. They might not. Look, how about this? We'll do. You give me your starting 5 like it's a basketball team. Give me your starting 5. And
I'm
you give
almost
me
I'm almost tempted to override you and go starting 11 like a football team, but okay, fine.
give me your
I
starting
say,
5 and bench 1.
oh God, man, God damn.
The
Okay,
bench one is crazy. The
I'll
bench one is
say
crazy.
in no particular order, so I'm not attributing sixth man to the bench person. I would say John DiMaggio, Phil Lamar, Vanessa Marshall, Eric Bauza, Scott Menville, and D. Bradley Baker.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Great. Now we're coming to the end of the show, but are there any lines from any one of your characters that resonate with you on a personal level?
The Saw Gerrera line about the sacrifices for the greater good is something that always, it's that, to go back to that thing of like vacillating between what are you willing to do to get to where you need to go. What line are you willing to cross? It is that Daredevil Punisher thing, right? Each Daredevil and Punisher, I think, kind of can't even exist without each other, where it's like one exists as this Punisher is like the Saw Gerrera character. Daredevil is like the character who, like the Obi-Wan character, where it's like they both, and this is the thing that's so infuriating and complex, but amazing about both of them, is ostensibly they both want the same thing. But because of their methods of going about to get it, they both butt heads all the time. And so when Saw says that, it's like you already know that about him. But when he says it, the sacrifices need to be made for the greater good. It's so much wrapped up in that about how he sees the death of Steela, how he sees the death of innocent people who may have been collateral damage in other operations that he's done. The people who he was close to, who he may have left behind in operations when he was doing things and was like, sorry, my dude, this is the last stop for you. And that's just the way he sees it. Is there's so much that I go back to as a touchstone for him in general, but also in life, where I look at it where I'm like, that is such a complicated way of looking at it, because you can look at it again from both sides. Daredevil says sacrifices must be made for the greater good. He's talking about how he's willing to sacrifice things for himself, within himself, to ensure that other people will shine. Punisher is, who is going to get it so that I have to make this situation right? So same question, two opposite sides of reading that question the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, philosophically, it's a tough thing to look at, because I always look at it and say, as a gauge to go, always make sure that it is the internal sacrifice that I have made, and understanding that all of the people who have been kind enough and gracious enough and generous enough to get me to where I am, how do I honor those things? And if I need to sacrifice this, what do I need to sacrifice in order for the greater good? Not who do I need to burn to get ahead? So I love that quote, because it is that sort of the duality of the quote, where you sit on both sides of it. And that is something I'll always have as something, as a metric to look at and go, I know the young man I used to be when I was wilding out like as a young man. I know the man I am now, and I know the cost of getting to where I am. Mm-hmm. The value of that is so important, and I cannot lose sight of that. It is a tremendous honor to grow old, as they say. So to have grown through the things that I'm sure that even on a deeper conversation offline, you and I probably have a lot of shared experiences, where it's like, if we've walked that path, it's a tremendous honor to get to where we are now, because we've seen some shit.
Mm-hmm. Man, that hit different right there. Heroes, villains, before we go, man, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and support us by simply, man, showing love, and we'll support you back. The more you comment on the videos, the more you show love. We got a PS5 giveaway happening. So make sure that you get involved. We'll announce the winner when we hit 5K. Big shout out to our last PS5 winner, BK Numbers. Thank you so much for your support. And appreciate you, my guy. Now, before we go, are there any upcoming conventions or projects you could talk about?
Shoot, I always get to this point and I think, just don't violate an NDA. What I will say is keep playing Marvel Rivals, keep playing Hawkeye, have fun with Assassin's Creed Shadows, and to say that I am so incredibly grateful and humbled that anyone would ever be affected, touched, believed, and be moved by my performance. I want to just say thank you. Thank you sincerely and honestly to anybody who has ever seen anything that I've ever done and felt moved by what I did. It's a tremendous honor.
Definitely, man. Let the heroes and villains know where to follow you on social media. That way they can keep up with role announcements, convention announcements, anything like that.
Easiest place to get me is Instagram, or hit me on IG at big.kish.
And heroes, villains, man, that's been our show. And like always, make sure you love yourself, pass that love on, and love others. And if nobody told you so, just know your boy love you. Signing out.
Sing it with me.